I am 5 years in on this channel and I have not covered any movies by legendary bad filmmaker Uwe Boll. I do not know how that happened. I have not intentionally avoided him or anything. It just ended up that way, I guess. But that's about to change because for November, we're gonna check out his Bloodrayne series and find out exactly just how bad can it be.
Alright, 2005 saw the release of Boll's Bloodrayne. It is an adaptation of the video game of the same name and was actually released in theaters. We're in what the promotional materials tell us is the 1800s, and Michael Madsen is here.
What?
Strip down naked, get your clothes off, and douse yourself in the syrup.
As is Michelle Rodriguez and Vampire Diaries guy. And the TX is here, and she's a vampire named Rain. And then, holy crap, Gandhi is in this. Did he need the money that bad? Mr. Blonde and his crew are vampire hunters, and then Slam Evil is here as well, in what the credits described as a special appearance by Billy Zane. And with that wig, it sure is special. Rain fights other vampires in really well-staged choreography, and Kagan is some big bad vampire guy, and famous faces keep on showing up as Andy Warhol's Dracula and Frankenstein is here, and Rain gets the power of a sacred eyeball that gives her powers. And I'm serious, apparently this film had a budget of $25 million, and this is the level of fight scene that it had? And then could you imagine that you had the chance to work with Ben freaking Kingsley, and after you meet him, you tell him he has to wear this wig. Next, his name is Robert Paulson, and he's perhaps the silliest vampire of all, and they train Rain to be slightly less slow with her really unwieldy sword things. I know that they're from the game and all, but is there any tactical advantages to these things? Then even Michael Paré pops in, and Katerin betrays the team, and she goes from being a pretty normal character to cackling villain in the space of like one scene. Rain then kills her in an extremely anticlimactic manner, and sidebar here that the script is credited to Guinevere Turner, writer of American Psycho, and the great flick Go Fish, and is notoriously the woman that Chasing Amy is sort of about. According to her, though, Boll changed most of her script and let the actors alter their own lines, and claims that only about 20% of what she wrote is actually on the screen. If you've ever wondered what the criticism of Boll was, just watch this and see actors that are pretty well known deliver lines like,
"Thrall, my companion is gone. I don't know what's become of him."
and
It is the end of Brimstone.
there's a final battle in which Vladimir and Sebastian both die, leaving Rain and Kagan to slowly fight until she manages to stake him. So with a budget of $25 million, the film only pulled in around $4 at the box office. So of course, a sequel was made. Okay. And 2 years later, in 2007, Boll returned with Bloodrayne 2, Deliverance. And we're in the Old West, but trains were invented, so it's in the 1800s, so like 100 years after the last one. And Scut Farkus is a vampire and also Billy the Kid. He has this weird accent, so I guess Billy's from Transylvania by way of New Jersey or something.
Tell me, Mr. Piles, is telling stories your reason to live?
And then Rain is back, but she's been recast, but still has the awkward sword things, and it makes noise anytime that she even moves it.
You better have something interesting.
There's a newspaper here, and it's the Chicago Chronicle, and that paper started in 1895, and it says it's September. Michael Paré is back in this one, but as a new character, as is Brendan Fletcher, who's oddly enough played Zach Ward's little brother in Freddy vs. Jason, but I'm guessing they're not related here. Billy eats kids, and Rain escapes a hanging in the precise kind of sluggish action that you'd expect from these movies, and she rounds up a crew to help her out, and heads back to town, and holy crap does everything take a long time to happen in these movies. And I don't get these. I think that Rain is supposed to be like Blade or whatever, and that she's a vampire, but can be in the day, and fights other vamps and the like, but she never really does anything that regular people can't do.
Ripened on the vine and ready to pluck.
That's hilarious, though. It's almost as good as my accent.
There's a showdown in which Rain's crew is all killed, but it's all so dull, and it ends with Billy getting staked, and if they're saying that this is the death of Billy the Kid, then that happened in 1881, which I guess makes sense, but it doesn't really fit in with that newspaper, but whatever. 4 years later, the trilogy completed with Bloodrayne, The Third Reich, which starts with a recap that's very careful not to show Ben Kingsley's face, and we then jump to World War II, which Rain calls the early half of her second century, and about 50 years after the last one, since she talks about Hitler's rise to power, which was early 1930s. So if she's calling it the early half of her second century, she's saying that she's over 200 years old, which means that she was born in the early 1700s. And you know, they said the first movie's in the 1800s, so we're just gonna go with whatever, 1700s, I don't care. But it places that in the earlier part of the 1700s as opposed to the latter half. So the time jump between 1 and 2 is around 150 years. We're at a concentration camp where the Nazis shout order in English, I guess. And Rain is back, as is Brendan Fletcher, as a new character, and he's part of the French resistance, who also speak English. And Clint Howard is in this one, and the plan is to make Hitler a vampire. And Rain accidentally made a Nazi officer one, so whoops. I guess after 200 plus years as a vampire, and she hasn't figured that part out yet. And the Commandant is played by Michael Pare again, but as a different character again, because I'm assuming that Boll had blackmail photos on him. There's lots of time killing and just generally talky stuff for a really long time, and they talk about the Enigma code and how they're trying to break it, and that was done in 1941, so this is sometime before that then, and oh boy, Rain dreams of Vamp Hitler. There's a final battle on the road, and the Commandant is killed, and they continue the fight.
So there you have it, 3 movies that I guess have continuity, sort of. Doesn't really matter. In terms of how bad can they be, this was a little bit disappointing. I expected a little bit more from Boll. I've seen a couple of his movies before, and they're pretty all over the place and crazy and absurd, like House of the Dead. And these were just kind of boring. There really wasn't much to them. I wish that they were worse, or better. They're just kind of middle of the road. In terms of the how bad it could be episodes, this was one of the most disappointing, because when you talk about Uwe Boll, you're set up for some terrible stuff, and it just didn't deliver. I mean, sure, they were bad, but normal bad. I don't know. If you hate these more than I do, or you think that they're better or worse, let me know down below in the comments, please. And also, please like, subscribe, share this video out there. Click that little bell so you get the notifications to let you know that the videos are coming out. And check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimeline. These guys over here are my patrons, and they are awesome, helping keep this video going and keeping me watching these terrible movies. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks a lot, guys, and bye-bye.